everyone. Welcome to the April 4th City Council meeting. We are recording the meeting live and broadcasting and archiving on the City of Madison YouTube channel. Like all of our prior meetings, first I want to welcome everybody here tonight. It's a beautiful spring evening. We'll start by reciting the Lord's Prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll get into tonight's business. Thank you.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Good evening, Council. Datillo, Dan.
Here.
Bartlett.
Here.
Chatham.
Here.
Schaefer.
Here.
Lucy Datillo.
Here.
Krebs.
Here.
And Tevena.
Here.
Thank you. Council, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting, March 21st? So we'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion that we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All right, moving on. Before we get to the resolutions and bills that are on tonight's agenda, I do want to read a proclamation from Governor Holcomb, and it is with regards to Public Health Week. Whereas April 3rd through the April the 9th is recognized as Public Health Week, whereas the goal of Public Health Week in 2023 is to recognize the contributions of public health in improving the health of the people of Indiana, and the Indiana Public Health workforce and partners serve communities to improve Indiana's health measures and outcomes. Whereas sufficient resources are essential for the provision of adequate public health services statewide to promote the health of Hoosiers, and an investment in public health is necessary to ensure vibrant, thriving Indiana communities. Whereas a comprehensive public health infrastructure is the foundation of improving the quantity and quality of life for every Hoosier. Now, therefore, Eric J. Holcomb, Governor of the State of Indiana, does hereby proclaim April 3rd through the 9th, 2023 as Public Health Week. And one of the reasons I'm reading this is just to thank all of our public health workers across our community who do so much, and certainly who did so much during the public health emergency that we had beginning in 2020. There are several bills going through this year's legislature which will create substantially more state funding for local health departments. There's 94 local health departments across the state of Indiana. Local delivery of health care is extremely important, but so far virtually every health department is dependent upon property taxes as their main source of funding. And so therefore the funding has been extremely limited relative to the overall budgets, but specifically limited relative to the needs of the community. As a member of Governor Holcomb's Public Health Commission, we've made a recommendation to provide an additional $200 million to local health departments statewide to facilitate the delivery of improved core services. That's making its way now through the Indiana legislature, and I'll continue to report on that. But I wanted to share Governor Holcomb's proclamation, essentially thanking all of our public health workers across our community. Now I'll turn it over to Devin relative to resolutions or bills.
This is ordinance number 2023-5. The sponsor is Councilperson Krebs. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, establishing a non-reverting fund for ready grants, whereas the State Board of Accounts in their June 2020 Cities and Towns Bulletin has stated that a separate fund for each grant is required, and whereas the City of Madison has entered into a grant sub-award agreement with our Southern Indiana Regional Development authority for 3 projects, and whereas the City of Madison wishes to establish funds to deposit monies and pay expenses related to the Hanover-Madison Connector Trail Ready Grant Project, the Indiana Music City Amphitheater Ready Grant Project, and the Ohio Theater Ready Grant Project. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, as follows. A. Accounts for each Ready Grant project are established for the purpose of depositing monies from the granting agency, appropriations from from city accounts, or from any lawful source for paying the required obligations for the City of Madison on the accepted grants. B. The account shall be named A. Hanover-Madison Connector Trail Ready Grant Non-Reverting Fund. B. Indiana Music City Amphitheater Ready Grant Non-Reverting Fund. C. Ohio Theater Ready Grant Non-Reverting Fund. And all funds contained in the account shall be expended only for the exclusive purpose of paying expenses related to the grants. C. The account shall be non-reverting and exist perpetually unless terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council. D. If either account is terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council, the remaining balance of the terminated account shall revert to the general budget of the Common Council. The next one.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2023-6, sponsor is Councilperson Bartlett. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, establishing the Public Arts Commission non-reverting fund, whereas the City of Madison, Indiana will incur certain expenses related to the Public Arts Commission and its promotion of public art, and whereas the City of Madison wishes to establish a fund in order to deposit grant funds and other funds and pay expenses on marketing, grant matches, public art installations, beautification of public areas, travel, and special projects for the promotion and recruitment of public arts. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, as follows. A. An account is established for the purpose of depositing monies from donations, grants, appropriations from city accounts, or from any lawful source for paying the required obligations for the City of Madison Public Arts Commission. B. The account shall be named the Public Arts Commission Non-Reverting Fund, and all funds contained in the account shall be expended only for the exclusive purpose of paying expenses related to marketing, grant matches, public art installations, beautification of public areas, travel, and special projects for the promotion and recruitment of public arts. C. The express and written approval of the Madison Public Arts Commission shall be obtained prior to the expenditure of funds from the account. D. The account shall be non-reverting and exist perpetually unless terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council. E. If the account is terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council, the remaining balance of the terminated account shall revert to the general budget of the Common Council. Read this one. Okay. Ordinance number 2023-7, sponsored by Councilperson Lucy Datillo. An amendment to Ordinance 2022-7 of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, the Economic Development Non-Reverting Fund, whereas the City of Madison will incur certain expenses related to economic development, and whereas the City of Madison wishes to amend the fund to deposit grant funds and other funds and pay expenses on marketing strategies, research, grant matches, travel, and special projects for retention and attraction of business to the community. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, as follows. A. An account is established for the purpose of depositing monies from Riverfront District license fees, donations, grants, appropriations from city accounts, or from any lawful source for paying the required obligations for the City of Madison Economic Development. B. The account shall be named Economic Development Non-Reverting Fund, and all funds contained in the account shall be expended only for the exclusive purpose of paying expenses related to marketing strategies, research, grant matches, travel, and projects associated with retention and attraction of business ventures. C. The account shall be non-reverting and exist perpetually unless terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council. D. If the account is terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council, the remaining balance of the terminated account shall revert to the general budget of the Common Council. E, any funds needed for projects, acquisition, administration, or enforcement under this chapter shall be subject to the standard processes and policies that govern the city of Madison's budgeting and expenditures.
And I would just add to that, Devin, that, council, you were provided with a red line for this amendment. And, the ordinance itself is substantially identical to the original ordinance with the exception of the, elimination of paragraph C out of the original ordinance, which says the express and written approval of the Madison Redevelopment Commission shall be obtained prior to expenditure of funds from the account. That's the only change to the ordinance. Thank you. All right, those are on first reading, so we'll talk about those next. Under reports, recommendations of the business standing select committees, I'd like to introduce Emily to discuss the Riverfront liquor license renewals for Red on Main and Rivertown Grill.
So, following Resolution 2022-39C, the Mayor and the Economic Development Department have reviewed Red on Main and Rivertown Grill's renewal applications. They have followed the renewal checklist that you all have in your packet, and their point of sales are in compliance. So, the Mayor and the Economic Development Department would like to recommend that Red on Main and Rivertown Grill be approved for their Riverfront liquor license renewals.
Mayor Courtney, may I ask, are we wanting to nominate these for approval as a group or individually?
I think unless you have an objection, you have the paperwork for both renewal applications. We've reviewed at staff level all the financials. They exceed the requirements of our ordinance, so I would ask for a motion to approve the recommendation by the mayor and economic development staff for 1-year extension or renewal. Thank you.
I move to approve the recommendation for a 1-year extension on the Riverfront liquor licenses for Red on Main and Rivertown Grill pursuant to the recommendation of the committee and the mayor's office.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you, council. Emily, awesome job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing all the analysis on that. Moving on, council, also on the agenda are 2 mayor's appointments to the Historic District Board of Review. And I've sent you information to nominate Ken McWilliams, who will be a returning member of the Historic District Board of Review, and Michael Zink. So these would fill the 2 vacancies that are remaining on the Historic District Board of Review. For a motion on the nominations.
I would move that we approve the recommended appointments for Michael Zink and Mr. McWilliams.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Comments or questions? Roll call.
Cotillo, Dan,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Chatham,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Lucy DeTillo,
Yes.
Krebs,
Yes.
and Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Thank you, council, and Ken, you're here tonight. I don't see Michael, but thank you for willing to serve on Historic District Board of Review, and we'll continue to recruit qualified members for a few open vacancies that we have on just a couple of our boards or committees, so I appreciate that. And council, before we move on, is there any reports or recommendations from other business or standing select committees of council to report? Okay, hearing none, I'll move to clerk treasurer report.
Good evening, council. We continue to work on reconciliation. MBH, LRS, and aviation have been completed in Key Fund. All accounts are reconciled on Excel sheets, but not yet entered into the system because we continue to have issues with our lack of server speed. and our ability to enter things into Key Fund at any sort of rate. And we continue to work with our contracted IT provider, the Purple Guys. They've assessed our needs, and hopefully they'll be ordering a new server soon. The general fund, which is the largest fund, is balanced on paper through December 2022 and will be balanced through October 2022 tomorrow. And as stated in Reedy's last letter to council, internal controls policies will be presented to you at the next city council meeting. And then we'll need your approval for those as well.
Katie, thank you. Any questions for Katie? Continue to work on a lot of heavy lifting in the clerk's office, so thank you for doing that, and staffing challenges.
We're grateful for the staff that we
Yeah.
have. They're doing a great job.
Are you still expecting to have the fund and appropriation reports posted on the website sometime
Yes,
soon?
as soon as, yes, absolutely.
We're getting closer. We have really two limitations right now. One is doing all the cleanup from, things that have been identified that needed to be addressed, particularly bank reconciliations. And then the second thing that's a real inhibiting factor that's affecting the productivity of staff is the equipment. The server is very old and outdated, and the processing speed on the server is really slowing down the work. Thank you. Would like to invite Deputy Mayor McGee to talk about staffing updates and other things, road projects in particular.
Still waiting, right? Okay. Give me just a second to get this back up. Okay. Good evening, council. Wanted to update you on a few topics tonight. And I am going to change my order just a little bit because we're waiting on one more person to arrive. I'm going to introduce you to our new Parks and Rec director tonight and give you an update on our CCMG projects, our sidewalk projects, and other infrastructure projects that are going on throughout town. So I'm going to skip this for right now and go to CCMG, our Community Crossings Matching Grant Program that is, we partner with the state on. Our 2021-2, which was our Oak Hill project, is in closeout right now. Everything has been completed and turned in. We owe NDOT back about $37,000 of unused funds. That project came in a little bit under, not only significantly under from the original engineering estimate, but under a little bit even from our project costs. So happy with that. And once they receive that check back, they'll send me a letter confirming that we are closed out, which will make us eligible for all other CCMG applications. They've already certified that we are good to go. So I have applied for 2023-1 application. Those applications were due at the end of January. We made application for a little over $1.2 million, of which half of that will be our cost. We have, in order to qualify for that, as well as closing out our CCMG, we also have to have our Title VI and ADA transition plan up to date, our road asset management plan, as well as the closeout, all finalized and in good order. We are complete on all of that. And then I'm hoping to hear an announcement on it late April, early May, no later than early May, I would hope. And then we will have to go through contract process back and forth and get a bid pulled together and submitted. It will be a summer-fall project. So wanted to also provide you with a map and a list of the streets that we've included in that application. Some are on the hilltop, some are downtown. I'll go through it real quickly. Blackmore Street from Bel-Air to Highland is a road that has needed to be done for a very long time. It's been pulled for
2 or 3 other applications prior to this, so very happy to have it included in there. Second Street, Poplar Street, and Mulberry Street sections are all surrounding our current projects going on for the Mulberry Street parking lot project, the Poplar Street parking lot project and park area there, next to the
Comfort Station?
Shrewsbury House.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So those we've combined with CCMG so that we can get road paving, sidewalk, curbs and gutters, that we need to do as part of those projects at 50 cents on the dollar. So we've prioritized them in that way. We also are going to do West Street from the foot of the hill to Main Street. That is a very bad road due to the road cuts that are sinking, and it's a rough road to drive on. So we've included that in the plan. And then Michigan Road from the bottom of the hill, basically at West Street, all the way to Miles Ridge Road, we are going to do a top shell or rejuvenation product on that. It's the right time to do it. We crack sealed a couple of years ago. It was paved maybe 2 or 3 years before that. So this is the right time to do that. It will extend the life of the blacktop, and then we will repaint and use thermoplastic. And I think Mr. Steinhardt has some plans for different kinds of striping that will go on Michigan Road in coordination with the new shopping center and that project as well. So that's the list, that's the map, and I will share this presentation with all of you via email after this meeting, so you'll have this information. Sidewalk project, you will remember that last fall we took extra funds that we had for infrastructure and created a fall sidewalk project that's now turned into spring. It was quite a bit of work. The streets that have a check mark next to them are complete. The ones remaining just have the bullet point. So most of that work has been done and paid for. They're still finishing up some of the others. We added a little bit of extra work on some of these as we went along, as it made sense to do, to go ahead and complete things. So again, you'll have this list as well. Wanted to update you on several infrastructure projects that are going on. Some are ours and some are NDOT's and some are county. So the first one I want to make you aware of is an NDOT slide correction on State Road 7. That's Hanging Rock Hill. So you may have noticed that there's already some preliminary work going on. They have some lane closures announced, but starting April 11th, they are going to close Hanging Rock Hill and begin their slide correction. I've listed here what it includes roughly. They're going to look at storm sewers, pipe installation, and a soil nail wall. Don't ask me what that is. Removal of the paved ditch and installation of a riprap lined ditch, and installation of the concrete curb and guardrail replacement, milling, paving, and restriping. This is very similar, if not the same, as what they did before on the other section of Hanging Rock Hill. This will just be a little farther up. And the current schedule shows that they will have Hanging Rock Hill closed through October 31st. That's a worst case and definitely not what we want. That's right through summer, it's right through our festival season, and it's after school starts again. So currently their anticipated completion date is July 25th. We hope that it works out that way, and we're hoping that it will actually be reopened sometime in August. So they have issued a detour map. This is a little bit hard to see, but they'll have signage up that is listed on the right. The official detour will be Clifty Drive, coming around like it is now for trucks, and 421. They are aware that a lot of people are going to use Michigan Road, so it's an unofficial. They're preparing for it, but they're not going to advertise that as the detour. They just know that that's what's going to happen. So again, you'll have this map in your presentation. So just a list of some other projects that are going on, similar timing or upcoming. The first one I want to talk about is the West Street Bridge, which is down closer to the bottom of Michigan Hill, there by the parking lot. The county has funding to work on that bridge. I don't have a lot of details on it. I have called and I'm going to be sent that information so I can update you more on what that will entail. But that is a summer 23 project. So that's going to have to be, we're going to work very closely with them in coordination of timing because we are paving that road. So we will try to organize the order of the contractor to make sure this is last or at least after they're done working on the bridge, so that when they're done, we get the road paved and we're back to a really nice roadway. That'll take some coordination. I've already talked to you about Hanging Rock Hill. NDOT has a 421 project, and the letting date for that is in December 2025. That will be from Milton Street all the way up past the roundabout on the hilltop. They're looking at culvert repair and replacement and paving. So we are working with them as well. The mayor and I met with the engineering firm on that, obviously to coordinate conversations about flooding and culverts and drainage and any tools that we might be able to get installed as a part of that project as well. So did you want to add anything on that?
Just that coordination and communication is going to be really important here. You have 3 units of government, state, county, and city, all doing infrastructure work, overlapping in pretty much the same time frame, and it's all coming together at the same time. It wasn't planned that way, but it's all coming together that way, and we're doing our best to coordinate it. It will create congestion, and we've also met with Chief Wallace to talk about the impact of all this infrastructure happening together on traffic management, and certainly Hannah will be working to help us communicate all the infrastructure is happening too.
So that's why I've tried to put dates on here for you. We have a lot going on in a short window of years. So it may be confusing for people because it's going to be a lot of closures, lane shifting, and announcements. So we're going to ask for your help, council, on communicating with your constituents so everybody hears the same thing and knows where to get the information. Hannah Mahoney does a great job of updating our projects page on the city's webpage, so you can always click on that and see the latest information, as long as we remember to give it to her. So that's the NDOT 421 project. That one will actually potentially coincide with our Main Street Phase 1 project, which is where it gets real tricky, because that will involve some closures on Hanover Hill and 421. So then we got Hanging Rock Hill and Michigan Road. So a lot of shifting traffic back and forth during that time frame. That project, as you know, includes 3 bridges: the Incline Bridge, the next bridge, which I think is Crooked Creek, and then the next one by IK, which I think is Clifty. I've got those right. All 3 of those bridges are in the footprint of Main Street Phase 1, and all 3 of those were funded by a county federal bridge grant that they were awarded for 2028, which means I believe it would let in 2027. So we're going to have to, again, coordinate some timing. That is potentially after phase 1 on Main Street resurfacing. We may be able to delay a little bit, flip some things around in the project so that we're not working on bridges after we've paved the road, but we'll do, we will do what we can on trying to coordinate with that. And then of course we have Main Street Phase 2. We're still waiting on a notice to proceed from NDOT. I think they are moving some money around and making sure that all their finances are in order so that they can fund everything that they've committed to. So they have not yet given us a notice to proceed on Phase 2. That cost us a little bit. We were going to combine some preliminary engineering work in Phase 1 and 2 because it's the same work and it's basically a continuation of the strip, but we don't have our notice to proceed, so we could not do that. Not a huge amount of money, but we were hoping to try and save a little bit. So that is infrastructure projects. And
Mindy, I might just add on
Yes.
the infrastructure side. The priorities are based on asset management plans, and the funding is based upon cycles. So it's just interesting that it's all converging at the same time, whether it be federal, state, or local funding, all having to be spent at similar timeframes and accordingly, all subject to asset management plans that create the priorities. So on the one hand, it's great that we're seeing millions of dollars of spending on our infrastructure, but there definitely is going to be an inconvenience and maybe an aggravation factor with a lot of it happening all at the same time, all across the city, whether it be county or city or state level work. It's happening all around us, so we'll have to just ask for everybody's patience and manage through it the best we can.
Mindy, may I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
It's regarding Hanging Rock Hill.
Yes.
The first one is I drive that every morning, at least for now I do. I notice there's a lot of vegetation cut down. Is that is that part of
It
this?
is.
It's prep work.
They have already been up there doing some preliminary work. They're trimming. They have a request in with Duke. I'm not sure if it's started yet to move some of the poles and some of the lines. So that kind of work is going on right now. They're probably doing core samples and things like that.
Okay. The second question I have, I know that the top of Michigan Hill is going to be amazingly busy, and I wondered if we had thought about some way to State Street and Michigan right there. It just seems to, I remember a couple times during the last closure where traffic really backed up towards the hill, and I was wondering if we could maybe think of some way to change that
Manage it.
up.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Chief Wallace about that, cause a lot of this is gonna create focal points where there's
Right.
congestion.
Right.
And that's one where we don't want everybody, backed up all the way down Michigan Hill, because hence we're also doing a $55 million construction project
Yeah.
at the corner of Michigan and Clifty Drive that also includes, intersection, traffic lights, widening of roads and those things. So we're gonna have our officers help manage that.
Yeah.
All right.
The
Thank you.
officers manage it, and then also we can work with SERPC and get some traffic studies to get better counts. I don't know what's out there on that section of Michigan right now. There may be some information out there, but if not, we can work with SERPC and get some traffic studies done so we can get car counts, and then maybe pull in the traffic committee and get some recommendations on that
We're also
intersection.
gonna be reaching out to the schools because of Anderson. But more importantly, we have an established detour route, and it's around rather than through the heart of the city. And most people will probably learn as the congestion goes, they should probably select an alternate route, and there will be some. It'll just take a few minutes longer for their commute.
Mindy, I have a question about Michigan Road as well, but on the bottom side, the West Street Bridge, what's the duration of that project?
I don't know. I don't have the details yet. I have requested them from the county. I'm supposed to get those from them. So I'll know the timing, the extent of it, and I just don't have the information yet. I just know that it's happening. The other thing that I have requested is more detailed information on the three bridges. I don't know if they're full replacement. I don't know if it's just the approaches. I'm not sure what they've included. I think they were awarded $4+ million.
$6 million, I thought.
Okay. So it's pretty extensive. I just don't know if it's full replacement and where that would be.
Wasn't the Crooked Creek Bridge replaced down by IKE within the last decade?
I don't know.
I don't know
You think
either.
yes? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was closed for a very long time.
So it may just be deck work or apron work or something. Once I have the details, I will share them with you.
I appreciate that.
So the Hanging Rock, you said that's NDOT. We can't really control that.
707.
Right.
But you did say Michigan Road. Is that's us?
That's
and
us.
our, okay, so, and I know you talked about communication. We're not gonna have those two closed at the same time, I
They're
hope.
not gonna be closed.
No.
It's just gonna be.
One lane?
It's gonna be the unofficial detour is what we're describing, but we're also doing some work on there with the resealing as part of our CCMG project, and then north up toward Clifty, we're proceeding with our intersection work at Crestwood and Sunrise Crossing. That's all.
It's just a little stressful to think about both of those hills
I know.
being one lane for any amount of time.
Yes. So
And since we can control one of them, I'm just hoping we can work that out.
any of these projects that touch our footprint of work that we're gonna do or a time frame, that we're gonna do work in. I will work really closely with whoever is in charge of the project and make sure that anything we can control, like our CCMG contractor, it might just be that we do Michigan Road all the way to Main Street last. There's plenty of other work that they need to do. If we can get that into the late fall for that section and Hanging Rock is done, that's what we'll do.
The coating on Michigan Road with the paint that's going to be used for the markings, is that the same type that we
Nope.
used? Okay,
Nope, I won't. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the project.
yeah,
Nothing wrong with that product. I just don't like it that you can't paint on it.
yeah.
That you have to use paint, you can't use thermoplast.
Okay, so thermoplastic is the traditional kind that's used on.
It's the part that gets
Yeah.
melted on, and it's thicker.
Okay.
So, top shell, you can use thermoplast.
Okay.
So, that's why we're looking at that.
We were going to use top shell, but they didn't want it applied to Main Street because of the condition the road was in.
Yeah.
Okay.
The road was too bad they didn't want their product on
There's
there.
a spot though, so we did a test patch, if you wanna check it out, and it still looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at the corner of, is it?
Baltimore and,
First?
Baltimore and First.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a test patch there where we all met and
Mm-hmm.
tested it, and we thought this would be great to use, and then the company declined to let us use it on Main Street because of the condition of the road.
So the project on Michigan Road being rejuvenation, is it the same product that was used on Main Street?
no. It's called a top shell, which is what we were just talking about. We have a
Okay.
sample of. It's a thicker, it's a little different, product, and you can use the thermoplastic on it instead of having to paint it.
With Main Street, are we moving ahead with getting reflectors in that road?
Yes.
Okay.
So we are looking at a couple options. I'm working with Kenny to see if we're gonna order the reflectors that go in. Tony Steinhardt has, gotten us some samples of solar, lights and reflectors that go down in the road, no wiring needed. We could use them in a variety of situations. We could use them in crosswalks, we could use them to mark the center line or turn lanes. So we are meeting to put a project together to do a test area. What I'd like to see is us do a test crosswalk, probably right here, and then some of the lane changes on the west end, and see how those work.
Do you have a timeline on that? It's dangerous.
When I
in
can
the
get
dark
everybody
down
to the
there.
table, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions on anything before I move on to introductions? Okay. I want to take a moment and introduce you to our new Director of Parks and Recreation, Scott Klein. And Scott comes to us with a wealth of experience in capital planning projects, project management. He has been Director of Operations at Hanover College. He was the Director of Facilities and Grounds at the Penland School of Crafts in North Carolina. He has done lots of capital planning and budget management. And we held an extensive search for Parks Director. We had several really, really great candidates that we sort of finalized down to 4 and did a second round of interviews and decided that Scott was the best fit for this role and had the best experience for us. So I wanted to invite Scott up here to introduce himself maybe a little bit and let you say hello.
Thank you, Mindy. Good evening. I am thrilled to have this honor to be the next Director of Parks and Recreation. I've been here 2 days. I'm drinking from the fire hose right now. Having a lot of people share a lot of information, a lot of opportunity. As the city grows, we know that active lifestyle is very, very important. Parks and Recreation is a great asset to the city, and we're looking forward to new programs, new growth, new exciting opportunities for the citizens of the city in the Parks and Recreation Department. So I'm pleased. I want to thank Mayor Courtney for this great opportunity. You can reach me anytime you need to reach me. We've already been meeting with Carla and some other board members. So my door is open. My phone is always available. Always interested in your thoughts and your opinions and how we can move this department forward into the next generation. So thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Scott, I just want to welcome you and certainly encourage council to reach out to Scott. There's not a part of Parks and Rec that doesn't touch everybody here and every district that you're representing. We've made major investments and have a master plan for even more investments in facilities and programming. So welcome aboard, and you know, just it's going to be great working with you and leading us through these next few years.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, there are no bills on third or second reading, so now I'll open up the floor. Mindy, did you have anything else?
Nope.
I'll open up the floor to any public comments. If anybody's here would like to address the mayor's office or council, please come to the podium and provide your name and address and let us know what your thoughts are. Debbie, great seeing you. Thank you.
Hey, Lisa Ferguson. I live at 718 East 2nd. Y'all remember a couple weeks ago, a few of you were absent, so you didn't get my flags, but you know what I'm on a mission for. Was talking with the mayor today. I love being on a first name basis with Tony and Trev because they're my go-to guys, and so I said, you know, this is we've already heard about your new venture, Lisa. And so today I asked them, and they said, all you have to do is get the mayor and the city council to approve the funding. We can get the flags up. And I'm like, I love that. So now I'm putting it off on you all. So I said to Trevor, well, how many flags do we need? Most people would not know that answer. And Trevor said, 87 if you're going from the campground down to Vine. And I was like, he goes, I know you're going to check on them. I'm like, yes, I am, Trev. And so I walked it today, and there are 87. He was correct about that. There are 10 more if you go from Vine to Vernon. So 10, but those are very hidden behind trees, so I could quite understand him saying 87. I said, well, what about if we started with half of those right now? And Trevor and Tony both agreed that what we needed are the brackets. They would not obstruct the veterans banners. I'm a volunteer for the Veterans Council, so I'm there when they go up and I'm there when they come down, climbing the ladders with Robin, of all people. So they would go on the south side, the river side, and it would be a greeting for everybody that's coming in for, you know, the fishing tournaments, the regatta, all the boat traffic we get. So to me, I just go back to saying nothing is more beautiful than that American flag that we get to live under. Appreciate that. So just wanted to bring that to you because basically they told me, oh, it's back in their hands now because we did the footwork today and kind of know what's out there. And if we start somewhere and we put 20, you know, I'd be happy with that just to see our riverfront be a part of our main street because those, I feel, are the two most utilized places in town. So as a part of welcoming Scott, I'm like, oh, I'll be in your ear too, you know. So, and the other thing that I just wanted to bring to your attention and I asked Carla this, and neither one of us had time after getting home today, but being out walking neighborhoods, I was able to spend some time this week also with Kenny Washer and realized there are many, many houses downtown that do not have numbers on their houses, which to me is a safety issue. So if you're calling, I've ridden with the police, I've been alongside Officer Blankenship last week. If you're talking about public safety with the police and the fire department, you would expect that there's a house number on a house if they're expected to respond to something. So I don't know if there's an ordinance about that, if that's something you all can begin looking at. But there's a lot of houses that you go, I don't know their house number. And my husband's a heart attack survivor, so when we had to call for an ambulance to our house, it was very important that they knew where to go to at that time. It was a life-saving measure for him. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And maybe there's already an ordinance and we can, you know, begin to educate people on the importance of that. But just,
I'm sorry, I missed your last remark. You're saying there's a lot.
There's a lot of houses
that don't
without
have the
house numbers
number
on them. And ours didn't have when we first came here. And Mac is our mailman. He's like, you need to get the house number. We're looking at it from a postal standpoint because that's what Charlie did for a living. And so today out walking, I'm like, well, the last few days out walking, it's like, there's a lot of houses that are not numbered. And
Did you get the addresses?
No, but I can go back on my walking list. You want me to go on my walking list tomorrow? I can, Mayor. and get those, but
We will make sure we take care of that problem.
I was talking to Kenny about that.
Communication's key on that one,
Yeah,
for sure.
communication is key on that, and I was talking with Kenny this week about some safety issues, so I just wanted to bring that up to you all too. Thanks.
So thank you so much. Anyone else here would like to address council or the mayor's office? Hi.
Hi, my name is Melissa
Melissa,
Gaith.
pull that down for you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Melissa Gaith, and I just recently moved back to Madison like a couple of years ago. I grew up here, been gone for 40 years, and I've seen a lot of good changes in Madison and some that have not been so good. I just want to know, somebody's gonna die, and it's gonna be an elderly person, somebody out walking with their dog, children, and even a tourist. I live over on Mulberry and First, and I have absolutely had it with people running those stop signs and the parties that go on at Central Hotel, and there's a house down the street from them that is a known party house. You know, it's every weekend. People out there burning their tires, you know, peeling out at the stop signs, running the stop signs, horns waking us up in the middle of the night. This past weekend, some juvenile was up and down the streets, peeling out the tires, and eventually at 5:30 in the morning, hit my neighbor's van and totaled it. It ended up being from parallel, parked on on the curb, to the back end of the van in front of their front door. When the neighbor heard it, she went to the door, opened it, and the back end of her van was sitting in front of her door. The kid ditched the car in the JC parking lot and took off and ended up in that house that was the party house. Now, my understanding is the police got him because they towed the car, they had the vehicle, but he was a juvenile, so my understanding was that he was just released. In the meantime, my neighbors are without a vehicle, the husband is disabled, the wife works, she has no transportation to get back and forth to work now. I want to know why the police do not have a unmarked car over there on the weekends to deal with this stuff. I mean, it's not occasionally, it's every single weekend. And the running the stop signs is daily. I mean, I can be out there working in the yard and count the number of people that, I mean, they act like they're not even there. So what can be done? I mean, somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody, I mean, God forbid, somebody runs one of those signs and hits somebody. I mean, and Annalisa, she has multiple videos of this stuff going on. So what's it gonna take? I mean, what are you guys gonna do about it?
Well, first of all, thank you for being here. And I'll start by saying it this way. This isn't a police problem. This is a people problem. And every day, every night, every weekend, I'm just kind of giving kind of building up to a response here. We're reacting, right, to people violating laws and ordinances all the time. That's why we have millions of dollars invested in police, the criminal justice system, code enforcement. But there's never enough law enforcement presence, for example, to be everywhere at a single time when somebody decides to break the law. However, it sounds like what you're saying is this is a common recurring problem that needs to be more closely monitored.
It
To
is.
see if there is some level of interdiction that can be done with the resources that we have. And I'll also put this in perspective. We have staffing for about 33 police officers that have to cover 9 square miles of a city, and that's 60 miles of roads, and that's broken down in a couple of shifts, and then you're really never fully staffed at 33. So we have one officer effectively for every several thousand people. It's just not enough resources to be everywhere at a single time. What I'd like to do, Ms. Gaither, is see if perhaps Councilman Tevenall and Chief Wallace can talk about this issue and reach back out to you, and certainly more closely monitor to see what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, something's gotta be done before somebody dies. I mean, if that van had went through their house, they could have been killed, that couple. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I understand it's a people problem, but not all people know how to behave, and
True.
sometimes they need to be monitored a little more closely. And, I mean, if it takes, for me, taking money from some other program and putting it into our police department or whatever it needs to be done to hire extra officers, then that's what needs to be done. I mean, I understand a lot of these programs that are going on are important, but life is more important than an art project downtown.
Ms. Gaither, we just hired 4 new police officers, two new police officers who are already academy trained, so they can start their careers with Madison immediately, and the others, three of the 4, are in the academy now. So we are adding and investing more resources for that.
Well, it can't happen soon enough.
I'm agreeing with you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Gaither. Anybody else here would like to address council or mayor's office? Hearing none, I'll just give council a few updates. First, I want to wish everyone a happy Easter. That's this weekend. If you'll take a minute, there was a lot happening this week in the Redevelopment Commission as well as the Board of Public Works. We covered a lot of the BPW safety matters through the infrastructure update. That is going to create the need for a lot of attention. Tonight, you had the first reading of several funds that's necessary to accommodate our new economic development projects that received ready funding from the Southern Indiana RDA. And I did have a conference call. I mentioned this at the last meeting. I had a preliminary call with the Army Corps of Engineers to discuss some preliminary data and findings for the Crooked Creek watershed. So we're in the process of digesting some very technical information in anticipation of a full report from them within the next week or two. That will help, again, bring the data towards some exploration of solutions relative to that watershed and the repeated flooding over the last 150 years or so. We continue to work on our excavation permitting process. We intend to bring an amendment to the Streets and Sidewalks Ordinance that was approved by your colleagues in 1966. And we will bring some updates, much needed updates to the excavation permitting process, as well as the creation of design standards that the Board of Public Works and Safety will be approving. And that will allow us to get a much better handle on all of the damage that's occurring with streets and sidewalks across the city due to contractor excavation. I want to extend a congratulations to Datillo Fruit Market for celebrating almost 95 years of continuous business on Main Street. I think that is remarkable. And I had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Datillo today, and as you know, as being a kid growing up in downtown on Walnut Street, on my way to Crystal Beach after I left the Boys Club, that was a typical summer day for me. It was pretty cool. Every time you went in there, it was like stepping into a museum, and the history that Mr. Datillo shares with the community. You get a chance, give him a congratulations for just that remarkable business history on Main Street. I will stop there and answer any questions that you all might have, but we are preparing a pretty robust agenda for the next council meeting with some substance in it for the rest of the year.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, everybody. Thanks for everybody for being here. Mr. Ricketts, how are you doing, sir?